Brother, I'm going, wanna wow Hulk Hogan. If all I get's a moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion. Cause lately I've been seeing stars, trying to kick out on this chokehold. But it's no holds barred, middle fingers like I'm Stone Cold.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast. I'm WeTooDeep. That's DJWAVYD, representing the Boston Celtics again. He's also representing, if you look at that shirt, he's representing Mommy, who made her return on Raw. We'll talk about that a little bit later, down in the towards the end of the show. We got some news we got to talk about before we get to Let's Get Cooking. But just like always, all the links are in the description. If you want to get Rhea Ripley's new shirt, I think CM Punk has a new shirt. I think both Money in the Bank winners have new shirts. I wouldn't buy Drew's if I were you. Just as I
wouldn't buy either.
Right. But if you want to buy some new merchandise, I think there's a promo code on Fanatics for free shipping this week. Use the link in the description to help support the Slapping Me Wrestling Podcast, and we get a small percentage of every purchase that you use through that link.
Un poquito.
And then also join the Discord. That link's also in the description as well. That's where all the real conversation happens. There's only so much time we could spend here. You got me and WAVYD. You also have the Beyond the Junkyard Boys, Cody and James in there, who, James is very active in there trying to convince us that AEW is superior. But, that's where all the real conversation happens. Speaking of Beyond the Junkyard, check out their show live. That link also is in the description. They are on Thursdays at 9 p.m. They're starting back up again this week. They were off last week with 4th of July being on a Thursday. They're back this week. Not quite sure what they'll talk about. Probably
probably a little bit for Forbidden Door Fallout, probably Dynamite and Collision the last couple of weeks.
Right. Trying to catch everybody back up. But with that's all the housekeeping. Let's jump into some news. The first thing I want to talk about is something that we me and WAVYD discussed in the CWC Discord, and that is WWE considering to bring in a women's United States Championship and a women's Intercontinental Championship. So I want to. What's your thoughts on this? And then we can have this discussion as well.
So in the Discord, I feel like my point wasn't being understood fully.
Right.
So I'm not against women's mid-card titles.
Right.
I'm against bringing in two of them at the same time. Okay. I think like, there's no reason to bring in two at the exact same time. I know you want to say one on Raw, one on SmackDown, kind of evens out. But I don't think the rosters are that deep of talent to warrant two mid-card titles. I think another way you could approach it is if you bring in one women's mid-card title on, like, say, you put it on Raw, and then you put the women's tag team titles on SmackDown, and all the women's tag teams on SmackDown. That way, women on SmackDown can go for either the main title or the tag title, and the women on Raw can go after the main title or the mid-card title. I just feel like if we get to the point where we have, if we put two mid-card titles right away at the exact same time, like we're going to be having fights of like Zelina Vega versus Natalya, you know what I'm saying? Or we're going to be having like, I don't know, like Kairi Sane versus Katana Chance. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, because, even without Rhea Ripley for this past few months, we were saying, the Raw women's division was looking a little lackluster as far as people to challenge Liv Morgan in the meantime. I know that, nobody was going to like defeat Liv before Rhea comes back. That's all their story. But like, even to give her like a credible opponent to build up Liv Morgan a little bit, all she had was Zelina Vega. And I mean, like, you could give her like, a little bit more talent to go against. I feel like without Rhea, without Becky, the Raw side was looking a little slim as far as challengers to the main title. And so if you get the main title plus a mid-card title, you're stretching your singles division even further. And that's my initial thoughts on bringing in 2 mid-card titles.
Right. So my response to that would be that Liv Morgan didn't. I know we would like to see her defend, but the story isn't really necessarily about the title. And I know that sounds sort of counterproductive because everything should be about the title, but her whole thing is I'm taking everything from Rhea, and that's what we've seen. So she didn't really need a credible opponent or a deep story until Rhea came back. I have the roster pulled up. I think the roster is deeper than you think it is, if you book it the way I would. So I personally think the main women's picture, if it's Liv and Rhea, we're going through the end of the year, probably even through Rumble with this storyline. So we don't need another woman in that picture. And so a mid-card title here gives Raw Asuka when she returns, Dakota Kai, as I'm scrolling down, Ivy Nile, EO, if you want to put it. I'm not putting the tag teams in this list. So Kiana James, Lyra Valkyria, Maxine Dupree, Natalia as the veteran. Sonya, maybe, she's probably going to be the singles competitor out of that trio, and then Zelina Vega. It's not that bad, but what it does is it builds it allows you to build someone like a Kiana James or a Lyra Valkyria to a level of the main event, instead of just forcing them into, like Lyra gets drafted and automatically gets a title match. Doesn't quite make sense. If you give her this strap here, similar to what the idea with Bron Breakker is, to give him credibility with a mid-card title. Same thing I think can happen with this title. You switch over to the SmackDown side. I think their main title picture is a little bit deeper with Bayley, Nia, Charlotte when she returns, Tiffany, and Bianca. So you get a little bit more depth in that main card picture. But you look at what a mid card would look like: Blair Davenport, Candice LeRae, Chelsea Green, Indy, Jade Cargill, Meechin, Naomi, Tegan Knox. You got. Is it the best? No, but that's what the mid card is for: is to develop the next star.
On that SmackDown side, though, I think like half those girls you named are tag team wrestlers currently, and then like on the Raw side, I just feel like so if you put all those girls in the mid card division, who's in your main Raw? Like who's in the main title? Because at that point we have titles that are more props than accolades or accomplishments. I know you got Liv and Rhea tied up, but like
if you're being honest, all the titles are props.
Yes, but that was one of the problems, that even though I liked Rhea's run, a lot of people faulted Rhea because it felt like she was just holding the title and it was a prop amongst the Judgment Day stuff. Like the title felt very secondary. Even though I liked Rhea's run, I thought she had some good wins, but there was times where Rhea wasn't even on PLEs defending her title.
So I think this comes down to the idea that the IWC expects every title to be defended, every PLE, and it doesn't have to be. I don't necessarily think that the main card picture has to have 12 people in it fighting for a spot to have that title. You're telling a story. The story's Rhea and Liv. You don't need to involve anyone else for that title picture.
I look at it as like, when you're playing like SmackDown versus Raw, you're playing one of the WWE 2K games, and you go to your rosters, like, you know, for your story mode or for your career mode or whatever, you have like 6 superstars that are ranked for your main title. You got 6 superstars like ranked for your mid card title, and like so, I can't see a superstar like a Rhea Ripley going down and going for the mid card title when she's a bona fide main eventer.
Right, so you wouldn't put Rhea in the main card, just not, or in the mid card. That's not where she belongs.
Yeah, but then you only have Rhea and Liv though. So you got Rhea, Liv, and everybody else you named for the Raw. As far as the Raw side of things, Asuka's out for at least a year. You got Dakota,
obviously the push would be Lyra Valkyria, but she just needs the credibility to not just say, oh, she's a NXT world champion, let's just put her in the world title picture. Put her on the mid card, give her a 2-month run with that strap, have her defeat, you know, have that division be big so that you have, you know, you have a title match, you know, every other week or so on Raw. Then you have a number 1 contender 6-way match, you know, every so often to give all of the mid-card talent shine. And one of them will then, you know, at that point, you know, you would book Lyra to be the champion, and then she can progress up to that main event slot. So when Rhea eventually wins the title back, now you have the next opponent is Lyra. You slide Liv back into some secondary role with the Judgment Day or whatever, where she doesn't necessarily need to be in the picture. And you just you sort of just rotate the talent that's being used.
I think the best way, like, I'm not against a women's 7 mid card title. I just don't want to see one put on both brands right away. I think you need to reshuffle the rosters. Right now we're not even getting enough shine on the women's tag team titles. So want to be real,
right? So my answer to that is, and this has been the answer for like 3 years: just get rid of them. There's no point to them. They don't care about them. Just get rid of them.
Well, I do want to keep the women's tag team titles, especially
they're not needed.
Well, yeah, because then at that point, I don't know. If you're gonna get rid of that, then I guess you can substitute in 2 mid card titles.
But that's been my answer for a year.
You got some decent tag teams though. If you let them cook, you got some good tag teams. But you got India Candice, and you got the Witches, and you got Bianca and Jade currently. You got Kaden Carter and the Katana Chance. You got Zoey and Shayna. And you got the damage control of Kyrie and Asuka when Asuka comes back. Like, you got some tag teams there. You just kind of got to let them cook a little.
But the problem is just like the men's tag team division, there's no place for them. You know, we're putting probably one of the better, more wanted to be seen matches for Money in the Bank weekends happening on Friday when DIY wins the championship. I would have much rather seen that than Bron Breakker and Sami Zayn on Money in the Bank. Or why not just add a 6 match? WWE's never cared about the tag team division in the modern era, and it's always been an afterthought. Triple H hasn't changed that. There's just no room for them.
I mean, I wouldn't say always. You definitely had a very strong stint when you had the New Day and Usos rivalry.
Right, but that was like the only 2 teams that they've cared about in the last.
If we go back through history, they got some good tag teams. If we go through history, like if we go back and look at it, I mean, is it their main focus? Tag team wrestling? No. That's why also AEW was a good alternative at the beginning, was because they had, you know, great tag team division. But now I feel like both companies are lacking in the tag department. But I think WWE has a lot of titles. I don't think it's like too many, but when you start bringing, like, again, I fault AEW for having too many titles in the first place. Yet WWE has more titles than AEW. So I feel like bringing in more titles would be a little hypocritical on my part.
So I'm also going to differ in that as well. I don't think they have too many. I don't think there's such thing as too many titles, because in the end, they're just props. And as long as you're using them as props to progress some sort of story, I don't consider that consider an issue. So I know a lot of people are sick and tired of like the FTW title on AEW. The way they're using it with Jericho, you're giving shine to someone like a Brian Keith, who most people don't know who that is. Big Bill's getting a shine. The Private Party is on TV again. And so Jericho having that title is a benefit. And that title, while it's not technically sanctioned, I still think it's a net positive for the show. Because I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to have it on there. I don't think there's such thing as too many titles. The issue becomes when you start to forget about certain titles, or if like when Dom had the North American Championship and that was going everywhere and being defended on all three shows, that got a little bit messy. I was against that. But I don't think there's such thing as too many titles. I still think, because of the amount of depth that WWE has in the roster, even though we have like the IC and the US title, I still think we need a more I think they need another like sort of bottom of the tier card, because even with, I'm thinking of something where like you could do like the cruiserweight division on Raw to fill 30 minutes of that time gap and have a cruiserweight championship, and then like a TV or like the speed championship. I get that you have that for your X show, the show no one really pays attention to. If that got defended on a SmackDown and as a SmackDown title, and that's where it got defended, I don't see an issue with having that sort of like internet championship being just centered on SmackDown. And so I don't think there's such thing as too many titles, personally.
I just think I'm still on board with just bringing one mid card title, see how it goes. I'm also not a fan of calling it the Women's Intercontinental, Women's United States.
I was just about to make that. I don't understand why we gotta rinse and repeat.
Yeah, like maybe make something creative or something.
Do something creative. If anything, I kind of, with the move to Netflix, like the Divas title coming back would have been interesting.
Yeah,
but,
because you got superstars like Chelsea Green,
right,
Kiana James, Maxine Dupree. Like, you can have like wrestlers like that, because like right now, Ruka can out wrestle half the women's roster right now.
Absolutely, and we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that on Friday, but I have some hot takes.
They were cooking.
They was cooking.
I watched it today.
You did? Good. You watch greatness. Let's move to the sort of second part of our news here. Let's move on with the show. And during Money in the Bank, I know we're going to review it, but this was sort of just randomly placed in the show, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it here. John Cena announces that 2025 will be his last year in wrestling. And so we're going to sort of mention that there. What's your overall thoughts? And then we'll get into our Let's Get Cooking segment, which is booking this retirement tour.
So when he said it out loud, I was a little bit in disbelief, like,
right.
I thought he was retiring cold turkey, like I thought he got like sick or like he got injured or something, and he was retiring like right on the spot.
Right.
But then once he said that, I'm gonna, next year's might be my last year, like my last go around, felt a little bit better. It didn't hit me yet, but when that last match hits and he's sitting in the middle of the ring, getting ovation, I might shed a little thug tear, because honestly, John Cena was in the business when I first started watching wrestling. I first started watching wrestling maybe like 2003, 4. I started watching around that time. John Cena was on my TV. He debuted in 2004 or whatever?
2002, I think, was his debut.
Yeah, so John Cena was on my TV already. And like, so some of my biggest memories of wrestling do feature John Cena, whether it be him versus JBL in the I Quit match, his battles with Randy Orton and Edge, even the Big Show, picking up two guys at the same time, giving them the F5s or the attitude adjustments or the FUs.
Right.
I still call them FU. I hate the AA or attitude adjustment, but John Cena, he's a pivotal role in pro wrestling history. He's up there with names of Hulk Hogan and
absolutely
Austin and Rock. Like I think it goes, honestly, if you want to talk about like impact of pro wrestling, like it might go Hogan then Rock. Hogan then Cena, and then you throw in like Austin and Rock. I think Cena's number 2 on that Mount Rushmore as far as impact of pro wrestling.
Right, I agree. So he's on my Mount Rushmore, for sure. He's got to be in the conversation for. I don't like the idea of like saying he's the greatest of all time. I think we need to, even in the sports, we have to sort of look at the era these people performed in. But he's the greatest of the 2000s, without a doubt. Like that, if we were to do like what 2K does in their franchise mode, we have like the Magic Bird era, the LeBron James era, the modern era. We have the Hulk Hogan era, the Ric Flair era, the Attitude era, because that's Rock, Austin, and that's all sort of. There's a lot of stars made there, but now you have the John Cena era. Ruthless Aggression is just the John Cena era, and he's definitely the greatest. Now I'll say this. As a wrestling fan, I haven't, John Cena's never really been one of the ones that, I've respected his work, but he's never been like on my favorite list. So this didn't hit me as hard as say 2 or 3 years from now when Randy Orton does this. I'm about to, I'll shed my thug tears for Randy Orton without a doubt. Like, I'm still pissed off Triple H can't get a retirement match.
Randy said he got 5 years left in him.
Look, he ain't got 5 years left. He thinks he has 5 years left in him. All I know is it's going to be the year 2040, and Dominic Mysterio and Rey Mysterio are still going to be in the middle of this feud.
Why you hate on that feud? Why you hate?
We'll talk about that later. It sucks and it's over. I'm done with it. Anyway, but with this retirement announcement, everyone's been trying to book it, trying to think of the dream matches to end Cena's career. I wish the news, like Bleacher Report, would stop reporting false information. He's not retiring at WrestleMania. Everyone's been reporting that he's going the full year. I think he said he wanted to work like 30 to 35 dates.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll let you cook first. Let me see how you book. Let me see how you book John Cena's final year in wrestling.
All right. Well, while John Cena wasn't my favorite of all time, he was up there. I would get his shirts every year for Christmas until it got to the purple. The purple shirt was the last shirt because at that point I was like in middle school and high school and shit. So every shirt up until the purple shirt, that was the last shirt I got from Cena. But as far as booking Cena in his retirement tour, so I'm thinking he kind of takes the rest of the year off. I don't see too much for him unless he does a Saudi event, but he can do a Saudi event next year during his farewell tour. He might do it like a few SmackDowns or Raws leading up to Royal Rumble. But I think Royal Rumble is going to be, well, he already said himself, but Royal Rumble's in January. That's the first show I see him at. Royal Rumble's January, right? It's a January.
It's February 1st. It's February 1st is Rumble this year. It's a week behind where it typically is.
Well, if they do a day one pay-per-view this year, maybe he does day one. But I see him at Royal Rumble. He's gonna be like, I want that last title win. I want to main event my last WrestleMania. I'm gonna enter in the Royal Rumble, say for a chance to fight for a title, whether it be against Cody or Gunther at the time. And I see Cena entering the Rumble. I don't see him winning it though. I don't see John Cena winning it. I think it gets foiled. He gets eliminated by someone. Maybe someone like a Austin Theory, Carmelo Hayes. Saying, well, I think Theory should be a face by then. So maybe like a Carmelo Hayes type. And then, he's like, my last chance to get a spot at Mania in the main event is Elimination Chamber.
Mm.
So he goes into the chamber. I think he makes it to the final 2, where he loses to. I don't know who you want to throw out there. Maybe who would you have face Gunther at WrestleMania this year? Is that redo Dragunov? Or is that too not big name enough for Mania?
For me, I'm assuming you want Gunther as champion at this point.
Yeah. I think Gunther goes into Mania as champion.
It's got to be Bron Breakker, I would assume.
Okay, you got Breakker and Gunther at WrestleMania. Okay, and then you got Cody versus Rock. That's the current plan they're trying to do, unless it's Rock versus Roman at Mania.
My thinking is Rock Roman. So I don't know where they're going with Cody, to be honest with you, to even predict that far out.
Well, actually, Loki, I would like to see Randy have the title, because part of my plan is that within this next year and a half, Randy Orton has to win a world title 2 more times.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, if I would kind of figure that's where you were going, so that you could put Cody Orton here and have Orton win at Mania.
Yes, okay. So Orton wins the Rumble or Orton wins the Chamber? I mean, it's my bookie. I know I'm asking you.
So, right. So I would say have Bron win the Rumble. I think that's the booking that they're going for him, to make him look strong. I think he starts real early in the show, and Bron wins the Rumble. You can have Orton win Chamber.
All right. And Orton wins at Mania, defeats Cody. And then we go, at WrestleMania, maybe you do Cena Punk? Or are we doing Seth Punk at that time?
At Mania, you would have to think it'd be Seth Punk. And they'll just redo what was supposed to be planned last year. Or at 40.
Cena Owens. One more time. That was a big rivalry when Owens came into the league.
Right.
Oh, Cena Logan Paul.
Maybe you could probably.
Well, the main thing I'm getting at is I don't think Cena fights the world title at Mania. So
Right.
I think Cena's a marquee match, but he's not in a championship match yet, because right now Randy Orton has one. He has one win. He needs to lose it and get the title back, and then in my ideal way is that you have Randy wins it 2 times. He has to vacate it. He has to vacate title for some reason. So then you got Cena and Randy both sitting at 16, going into their final end of an era matchup against each other. End of an era for the record-breaking title win. And then I think you either do it at SummerSlam. That's your second biggest show. So you do it at SummerSlam. Or you can do it at Madison Square Garden in December of next year. I know they usually have that Madison Square Garden big show in December. You could do it then. And that's Cena's last match is against Randy for the record-breaking title in December. I was more so thinking about opponents he could face on the way. I kind of have my destination, and I kind of have him in a marquee match at Mania. But at that point, it's kind of like, who else does he want to face? I think you throw in names like CM Punk one more time. You throw in a name like, you could throw in The Rock. I don't know, because they had that face off at Mania this past year. You could run back Rock and Cena one more time. You could do a young matchup, maybe like a Cena and Bron Breakker. But I don't want to see him get hurt. But Cena Breakker, right. Cena Gunther.
No, Cena's not doing Gunther. There's no way in hell that they put. There's no way in hell they put him with Gunther.
Maybe do a Cena Rey Mysterio one last time, because those guys barely got to face each other.
Right. So the problem is if we look at like the feuds that I want, or like his biggest feuds, like Copeland's not here. He's in AEW. Batista, please don't bring him back. Like, that was a big feud in his career. And Angle's retired. Because the perfect way to end this would have been if Angle could still go, to have him end his career against Angle. But that's not ever going to happen. Angle can barely walk.
Well, during his final stretch, would you ever see nostalgia matches or like fresh, never seen matches?
So you want me to go ahead and transition to how I would book this? Okay.
Yeah.
So the way I book this is a mix of both. So I like your idea of having Orton and Cena end his career with the sort of, the record on the line. I think in a year, that's a bit much to sort of force. And you have to manipulate a lot, with, like you said, with Orton vacating a title at some point. And I'm not a big fan of that.
Or he loses it and then that person vacates it. Maybe they beat Orton, but they get injured in the process. Like Finn Balor almost. That's almost forced. To me, that's forcing it too much. And I don't personally think Orton needs 2 more title wins at this point in his career. I know it would look fine and would be fun to have him get them because of the Cena matchup. But so my thing is, we start this at Rumble, of course, and he's in the Rumble. Like I said, I would have Braun Breaker win the Rumble. I think that's definitely the direction they're heading in. And so Cena gets eliminated by, I would have him it doesn't really matter who eliminates him, in my opinion, but I would have him eliminate Orton. And I would have the Mania match be Orton versus Cena. I think that's the biggest match you could put him in for his last Mania. I'm not sold that the record matters to Cena, nor do I think WWE cares about the record. I think WWE cares. I think they might want to get off of Flair.
I feel it. I feel that. So I get there in a minute, because I think, and so I have Orton versus Cena at Mania 41. Cena's not missing the Saudi shows. Saudi will pay. I've already paid a shit ton of money. They will pay more money to get Cena on both of these Saudi shows. So I'm assuming the first one is going to be King and Queen of the Ring again. And so after Mania, there's Backlash. Cena doesn't need to be on Backlash. You can give him that PLE off. Or he can just show up and, I'm assuming it's going to be overseas, so he'll probably show up and say thank you and then leave. And that's where I have, Saudi's just the throwaway pay-per-views just to please the Saudi crowd. That's where you do the Rock Cena 3 in the trilogy. And I have Cena winning all of these nostalgia matches. And so now he's 2-0 for the year. So now we end Saudi. The next one after that is Money in the Bank. He's not going to be in that match. There's no need for it. But after Money in the Bank is SummerSlam. Well, SummerSlam has already been announced for Minneapolis next year. There just so happens to be a guy, we haven't seen him in a while, who's from Minneapolis, who had I would say, one of Cena's top 3 feuds of his career. And that's Brock Lesnar. So you have Brock come back either at the Saudi show and attack Cena after the win, or somewhere in between the build-up to SummerSlam, where Brock Lesnar and Cena end that feud.
Okay.
So now you're moving into Saudi. Cena wins, so now he's 3-0. You have him. We're moving into Crown Jewel. All these other throwaways after SummerSlam. Like, he maybe shows up, says thank you to the fans, and leave. You don't necessarily need him in a match. And then I put him at Crown Jewel against Roman. It's not a major feud, but it's really the only one we have left outside of the one we'll get to next. So he beats Roman. Roman doesn't need to win anymore because the win streak doesn't really matter for Roman. The day's undefeated. So now Cena's 4-0. So now we get the Survivor Series. Survivor Series tends to be a show they run in the Midwest the last few years. Chicago fits perfectly for this time of the year where they typically run. So let's end it. And I also do this for a reason. It's the last PLE of the year. So his last PLE in WWE in the same arena, his first ever show in Chicago. He ends where he begins against CM Punk. The hometown hero, and Cena beats him. So Cena's now 5-0. So he ends this feud and he goes in and he enters the month of December, which has no PLE. And so he comes in and says, he calls out Cody and says, Cody, I'm 5-0 in these big feuds. I've beat Brock. I've beat The Rock. I've beaten Orton. I've beaten Roman. I've beaten Punk. I want to fight you. And how we stretch a Cody title run through another year, I have no idea, but we're doing it.
I mean, he could lose it and win it back.
Right. And so I have Cody. You talked about the MSG show. I have that because either they do the just MSG at some point in December, like they will do. I think that they can make it like a tribute to the troops. That was always a big show. Cena always did. And that's where Cena wins and gets the record for the title. He only holds it for like a week or two, though. And they schedule the final SmackDown of the year in Boston, Massachusetts.
Is that where it actually is?
No, they haven't, but that's where I would put it. I mean, if I'm WWE, I'm booking all of 2025 around John Cena. I'm calling arenas before any sports dates can get set. Is this free? We need this date for SmackDown. Don't schedule the Celtics. Don't schedule the Bruins. We need this for SmackDown.
Quick question: When you think of Cena, do you think of him like? Do you think of Raw or SmackDown first?
Honestly, I would assume Raw. I mean, that was his bigger show, wasn't it? Or I don't really recall much of the 2010s early.
Well, yeah, he had his big start on SmackDown, like his big break, but then he had like his tear of Cena on Raw for like almost a decade, and then he came to SmackDown for his second like win with the U.S. title.
Right. So I'm just going based on the championship he's going after. That's why he's on SmackDown. Plus the point that I'm getting to is the final SmackDown of the year. And then again, we don't know when this is even going to be scheduled because we don't know once SmackDown moves to USA if it's even going to stay on Friday. We don't know. But I would have it in Boston. And John Cena's a professional. And he's going to go out on his back. He's going to put over. He's going to pass the torch. Yeah. And I think he does that in Boston to Boston's next superstar, Carmelo Hayes. And so I had this conversation actually with Cody from Beyond the Junkyard. I had this conversation yesterday with him. There's 3 young superstars in WWE right now that Cena could put over in this spot. You got Melo, you got Bron, and you have Trick Williams. So he asked me the question, of those 3, who do I think would be the most successful? Or who could and my answer to this was all 3 of them are the best at something, but I felt, like Melo is the complete package to me. Where he suffers is his size. If he was 6'3", 6'4", he'd be the ideal wrestler.
If Carmelo Hayes was himself, but in Trick Williams' body.
Right. Trick Williams has the charisma. His in-ring work, though, it needs some work.
He has the body, too.
Right. And Breaker just has the athleticism. He's a freak, My fear with how they're presenting him now is he's a one-hit wonder. He's going to quickly become Goldberg if they don't change how they book him. And so I think just Carmelo to me right now screams like Breaker's already has the rocket strapped to him. I think Trick needs some work. So Melo makes the most sense to strap the Cena rub. Plus, you need someone who's a little bit cocky to say, "Oh, I beat John Cena," and can carry that into the next year of 2026. And so, to me, that's where Melo gets the rub. So yeah, that's how I book Cena's retirement tour. Five of his feuds throughout his career, he gets the 17th championship, and then he ends his career by doing what we know John Cena wants to do and continue the greatness of the company and the business. And then I personally think at that point, Cena's going to join the board as well, and him and The Rock will sort of run the company.
Okay.
I think he becomes one of the suits, and that would be interesting in and of itself because of the differences of opinions that I think him and Rock have on where this company should go, and then you're dealing with all the other egos like Triple H. So our childhood is now running the company, which is crazy. But yeah, that's how I book the retirement tour. You please the sort of the people who grew up with Cena. You give them the nostalgia matches. You take care of the check mark of beating history, and then you put over a new superstar to continue the greatness of the company. Now that that's over, let's talk about Money in the Bank. So we start with the men. It's a Money in the Bank match. And so I know my initial pick was Carmelo in this match. But as soon as they announced that this was going to start the show, this was way obvious where they were going. It was too obvious. I knew exactly when they opened the show and they showed this graphic. I was watching with James and a couple of other friends that aren't part of, the podcasting stuff we do. I looked down and I said, look, Drew's winning this match. He's going to cash in at the end of the night. CM Punk's going to cost it. And I mean, these were people outside of James. These were like super casual fans who hardly watch wrestling, and they predicted the same thing. And so, what was your thoughts on the men's Money in the Bank match?
I thought the men's Money in the Bank match was really good, but it was also really short. The match was over, it felt like, in 10 minutes. Like, it felt like the guys came in, each of them had like a high spot, to shine real fast, and then Drew walked away with the briefcase. The match felt really short. I like when the matches go a little bit longer, have a few more spots, but it helped the women's match, not to get too far ahead, but helped them because since the men didn't hit too many spots, it left a lot of spots for the women to hit to where it didn't seem repetitive. Mm-hmm. But the men's match definitely was really short. So
I just want to blow your mind here for a second.
Yeah.
The men's and the women's were the same runtime.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. The men went for 16 minutes 30 seconds. The women went for 16 minutes 50 seconds.
The pacing felt way different.
The pacing is what it was. Yeah.
It felt way different. The men's match felt like it flew by. The women's match felt like it lasted longer. It was the pacing. But I do think where I would have done things differently to get to a similar result. I get it because it helps kind of set up Punk and Seth in a way, but I feel like you could have got to that point without involving Punk in that match. I feel like it would have been better, especially after they established the rule that Money in the Bank can go after any title, mid-card, tag team, NXT, whatever they want to do, especially after they established that rule that you can go after any title. I feel like my decision personally I would have done was just have like CM Punk tip over the ladder while Drew was up there, and Drew could have done like the Chelsea Green type of spot. You know, he went through the tables on the outside or whatever, and have CM Punk cost Drew. Or he don't gotta go through the tables. He can even like he just lands on the rope or whatever. But I feel I want to say they wasted the Money in the Bank contract because it played a very important part, you know, and like in the bigger scheme of things. But I rather push Drew off the ladder and have someone like a Carmelo win the briefcase, have Carmelo do his little thing or whatever, and then he can cash on LA Knight. You know, say he can tease Cody or whatever, but I think he could cash in LA Knight, get himself some championship gold on the main roster. He could kind of start Carmelo's career and kind of push him in the right direction. And then later tonight, you could have had Damian win clean over Seth. So man look stronger.
So I understand your point there. I do. I don't think I agree with it though. I do actually like how they use Money in the Bank this year. So my first thing is, I've been saying for a few years now, we just got to get rid of the gimmick. If the last 2 years with this, we had whole year-long reigns, it felt like, with Priest and Theory, and it just never really felt like they cared about it. And so for me, I think it just feels good knowing that, hey, I don't have to sit here and worry about some cash in that to happen. We got that out of the way. I think it did progress. Not only the Punk versus Drew story, which is the immediate story, but we now have Seth involved, which would not have happened had the cash in didn't happen. And Punk cost Seth the match. Now Seth can sort of in the back of his mind say, look, when Drew's done with you or when you're done with Drew, I'm coming after you. And now we sort of now have Punk immediately have his next storyline. He picks back up with Seth when he's done with Drew. And so I'm perfectly fine with how that actually played out. I think and this may have just been buying into the hype the IWC was selling. The lack of interference that I think we all expected to happen, that didn't happen. Really, at least with Gable. And I'm not going to talk about it here because we've already gone 40-something minutes and we still got the rest of the show to talk about. But on Friday, I got some thoughts on Gable and just really the whole Wyatt Six shit. Again, I'm going to update everyone on my thoughts on this. My opinion has changed a little bit. So tune in Friday to listen to how that is. But the lack of interference, and I'm personally tired of having half of the match filled with superstars who have zero reason being in there other than being spot monkeys. So that you had that in both matches. Andrade's only reason to be in here was to do that spot. That's the only reason you had him in there for.
Lyra matches are for the spot monkeys. It's made for the spot monkeys. To me, that feels like a wasted spot. I'm personally not the biggest fan of them continuing the gimmick of Money in the Bank, just because they've done practically anything and everything you can do with the gimmick. You've had a cash in at Mania. You've had a cash in for a secondary title that, we've had failed cash ins. I don't know what more you could do with the briefcase itself. Me personally, I want Money in the Bank back at WrestleMania.
I agree. I don't think it deserves its own event. I just think the whole gimmick itself doesn't really need to be done. Outside of, like having someone forget the cash in and and seeing where that goes. That's the only real thing you haven't done with it. I just don't really see what else more you can do with the gimmick. And so it sort of just ran its course, in my opinion.
They had the one avenue to explore on the SmackDown on the WWE video game. Your main character wins Money in the Bank, but then Kevin Owens from the previous year, he was injured, never got to cash in his Money in the Bank. So then you cash in yours, and then Kevin Owens returns from his injury and cashes in on you, who just cashed in yours. And then Adam Pearce is like, he got extension because of his injury. It was double cash-in.
Interesting.
I don't want to spoil for y'all, but that's like last year's game.
23?
Yeah, I believe 23. Yeah. When you're the lock, your character's name is the lock.
Yeah. So we move on to Sami Zayn versus Bron Breakker. What's your thoughts? I don't got a lot to say about this match, but
good match, wrong decision.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like we're wasting a little bit of time. I think you can just put the belt on him, especially if we're just going to do this. Bron has an anger management problem, and he's not going to stop till he gets it. I feel just put the belt on him now.
I don't understand why you have him lose here. I don't. And I know everyone would shit on it, but this match went 13 minutes. At most, it should have gone 3. This should have been your standard squash match. Sami Zayn can take that. And I don't understand without interference. Like, I felt if Sami was going to retain, it would be by some form of interference or DQ. But that didn't even happen. I don't see why you would have Bron's first loss on the main roster come to Sami Zayn,
especially off a Warner Luva kick.
Right. Right. And so I don't understand this booking. Breakker should have, beat him down, won the title quick, and then just went out and just destroyed the mid card. And then you have your SummerSlam fatal 4-way. Sami wants a rematch. Ludwig, I think, is hurt, so I don't know if he'll even be at SummerSlam. But Sheamus was in the picture. Sheamus is now going after Bronson Reed.
They're gonna have a little hoss fight.
So the booking of this was just kind of weird to me.
Oh, there's also beef between Sheamus and Pete Dunne. They put a little tension between them on Raw.
Yeah. So then we come to the men's match between Priest and Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. As we know, Damian retained because of the cash-in and CM Punk attacking Drew. What was your thoughts on this match?
I like the match. I know that it had some sloppy spots. To credit Uncle Bully Ray over on the Bust Open podcast, he thinks when the whole mishap in the count happened, the botch happened. He said he went back and looked. He was looking for like signs. He thinks that Damian Priest got knocked out for a little bit. I mean, and I know what I'm saying. This man Bully got over 30 years of wrestling experience. I didn't go back and watch to see his hand twitch or whatever. I don't know.
It did. His hand twitched. And so I do believe he was. I don't want to say concussed, but he was out of it for a little bit.
But what I thought happened was just they messed up on Drew's timing for his music. I thought the Drew's music was supposed to stop the referee's count. And then they were just late on it, and Damian didn't kick out because he was waiting for the music, and he just got caught lacking. I thought it was a mistiming of the music.
So I know everyone wants to hate on Priest here. First off, I don't think this was a botch. I do legitimately think he was knocked out. And so to me, that's not a botch. That was just unfortunate. And I know because we had a result with the cash-in happening that the ref couldn't have done the 3 count like he was trained to do. Most refs are trained to do if someone doesn't kick out, you just make the pin. And you have to go with it. And so that's part of why that didn't happen. This is just what happens in pro wrestling. I'm not the biggest fan of, watching the show and trying to call out and making fun of all the botches. It happens. It's live entertainment. And so it does feel like it's happening a little bit more recent or more often in WWE now. Which is a disappointment to me personally, because they used to be real like botch free for the most part. We can talk about the ropes later. I don't think it's that big of a deal. The whole point of this was to keep Priest champion, to keep McIntyre, to push McIntyre and Punk, and to start the fire between Punk and Rollins again. And I think they accomplished that. And so for me, they accomplished everything they intended to do with the match. Was there a botch in the middle of it? Sure. I
do think one way, like looking back at it, I feel like one way they could have helped cover their tracks a little bit and implement that as part of the story going forward was if the next night on Raw, I know they kind of had lots of going on, especially setting up for Rhea coming back. But if like one little backstage segment, if Damian walked in or walked past and saw Finn Balor handing the referee money, or not,
I'm not for that story. I don't think that covers much. It just creates a bunch of confusion. Because
then you got like Damian told Finn Balor not to interfere in the match, but then Finn Balor would be on his back and didn't physically interfere, but he grabbed the ref to not cost him the match. And then that can even push another barrier, a bigger wedge between Damian and Priest going forward into SummerSlam. I think you could probably incorporate that in there to help push a story while try to save kayfabe a little bit with the referee not counting all the way.
I think if everything would have gone as planned and there wasn't the botch, we wouldn't be talking about this. The whole sort of idea with Priest saying that to Finn was to sort of keep his end of the gentleman's agreement he made with Seth. And so to have like the bribery here, I don't necessarily think that tracks. We'll talk about Raw here in a minute, and
I mean that also goes that kind of goes hand in hand with him taking back his end of the bargain, where he was like, I know I said I'm not gonna give you another chance, but I'll give you another chance because I feel like I improved myself because of the cash-in situation and the Finn
I don't
thing.
think so. Here's the thing: at some point, I don't even think he should have taken away the deal. That makes no sense. So we can go ahead and talk about it. It makes no sense for him to remove the gentleman's agreement. If this is the way to cover up the fact that he didn't kick out and Seth should have been winning, that's at some point you just got to play it off like it didn't happen.
Well, it was mostly because of the whole cash-in part, because he felt like he didn't beat Seth one-on-one because he pinned Drew. So that's why he took back the gentleman's agreement, is because he beat Drew and not Seth.
To me that still doesn't make sense, because everyone knows that Money in the Bank is always a possibility once someone wins the briefcase, and so it's not Priest's fault that the cash-in happened.
Priest is going on like a story arc right now, whether it be full face or a tweener who leans face. He's trying to prove, because he's getting the label of a paper champion or transitional champion. Say like even outside of wrestling, outside of kayfabe, he's getting that, but he's also getting it in the story where people are saying that he's not a real champion. So he's going through the character arc of trying to get rid of all the doubters, trying to silence them, and trying to really prove himself. So like he feels like he really needs to beat Seth, you know what I'm saying, in the first place, because he didn't beat Seth for the title at Mania. He pinned Drew after CM Punk, cost him it, and then he beat Drew again because of CM Punk. He hasn't beaten Seth Rollins for the title, or he hasn't beaten Seth Rollins, I think, period. So he's trying to silence all these doubters within his own story arc and character arc.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. Why put it in the story if you're just going to remove it? It just doesn't make sense to me. Because now there's no reason for Seth to be angry at Punk. Because the whole reason Seth was angry at Punk was because he cost him the opportunity to fight for the title. But if he can just, do that promo against Punk and then walk backstage, and now he's able to fight for the title again, you sort of just remove the whole reason I would care about Seth attacking Punk.
I mean, he still cost him from getting it in the first place. He could have got Money in the Bank if it wasn't for Punk. I mean, he also doesn't like Punk in general because when he first returned at Survivor Series.
That's one thing, but the whole promo that he cut on Punk was, the title is the most important thing to me, and you cost me from getting it, and now I can never fight for it until Damian loses.
And then Punk also had other fighting words within that promo. Saying when he was apologizing, but then took it back or apologized, but saying
right. But you still sort of take away the motivation that Rollins just built for why he's mad at Punk, because you cost him the title. And now you can just go back and fight for the title. You sort of remove the booking you just created.
Well, I think it was just to relight the anger and to re-show the fans why Seth doesn't like Punk in the first place.
I don't know.
I think the Damian part of it is a lot easier to understand than the Seth and Punk part of it. I think Damian's is a little more cut and dry as far as a character arc.
Which I get. I'm not a big fan of them creating an interesting angle to the match and then to cover up the fact that Damian didn't kick out, or even to cover up for booking the cash in. Now you're removing the entire angle of the match. I feel like it removed a lot of the motivation for why I would care about Rollins and Punk in the first place. That's gonna be one of my hot takes on Friday. About Triple H and his booking, because I have some things I got to say. We'll move on to the fourth match, the women's Money in the Bank.
I like that one more.
This one was definitely agreed upon to be the better of the two.
Started off sloppy, but it finished strong.
It did. Tiffany won like we all thought she would. I think you booked this the way you should have. You gave the hope of Chelsea winning. She overcame her fear of heights. She ends up going right. She ends up going through the table as part of that. Anyone who's watched wrestling enough knows that she was going to go through the table, because that's what you do with anyone who is afraid of heights. You push them off the ladder through tables. You had Naomi. That was really, I don't really know again why she was in this match.
The women try to do too much with the ladders early on.
I agree. You had the one big spot, the CWC was like Mike and Nerdy D were doing the live stream, and I was I was tuning in and out of it. And so we literally just came in, and when it was starting and Zoey's entrance came in, so I went in there and commented, "Oh, look, see, zero reaction for Zoey." And
she had zero reaction. She had a little reaction.
There's zero reaction for her.
You hating on Zoey. I don't get it. You hating. She's talented.
Zero, if you say so. But
she had one botch. She hit her head on the ladder.
I don't even care about the botches. I don't. She can't talk. I don't understand why they're. I don't get why they're pushing her. I don't.
She was talking better than Shayna.
Okay, that's not a high bar to set though. Shayna,
I'm just saying
Shayna,
she's not a terrible talker. I feel like you got to get her out of the tag team a little. I mean, not out of it because they're about to flourish. But Shayna's not. I mean, not Shayna. Zoey's not a bad talker. And she also has one of the better entrance themes of all these Death Rebel people.
Okay, so she has a lot of production, but when she gets in the ring, there's nothing there for me to care about.
I don't know.
But
she's tough. She's strong.
Again,
she a high flyer.
I guess if that's what you like, but she's in this. Her and Io are in this for one reason only, and that's to do the spot where they almost both died.
The driver
and
Mitch the new scoot the driver, whoever is
right. So to finish sort of my story, Nerdy D responded like, she's WeTooDeep. She's in this match. She's gonna do some crazy spot. They're all gonna, and then like literally 2 minutes later, that spot happened. As soon as he said it, I mean, I personally think they did too much. And I don't know. This was the easiest match to predict. We all knew Tiffany was winning this. I like what they were telling, but not much outside of Tiffany winning this got progressed into any form of storyline, which is why I used to like these type of matches, because they used to put in, 6 people. You would have your winner, and then out of the other 5, you would progress storylines between them. And that hasn't really happened here in the last few years of them doing this.
I mean, we didn't get the post SmackDown yet. You know what I'm saying? We only got the post Raw. But I will say the damage control seemed like it got pushed a little bit because Io and them had their little vignette backstage where also, can we stop having Kyrie saying talk? She can't talk for nothing. At least Io like talks normal. Like Kyrie do a little talking and she laughs hysterically and like wanes her voice and is like, I don't know, it was weird. But at least Io could talk. But Io was talking about how damage control is about to step it up because like they've been failing, yada yada. And so, they made a little something out of it. But I will say, you gotta go with the fact that Dakota wasn't in Money in the Bank. The reason she's not in there is because she's still got that messed up knee. Saying one pull down from the ladder, saying she dropped 6 feet, she could buckle her knee and she's out for another year. Ladder matches are not meant for people with messed up ACLs. All right?
So are we gonna? So I get that argument if it was consistent, because the 6 women match in NXT for the belt had Sol Ruka in it, who's 3 months post ACL injury.
It was a smart decision,
but it was useful. It got her over.
No, I think she was already over. To be honest with you,
I think it raised
got her more over.
Right. It built her credibility in that style of match. If Dakota, my thing with it, and it's kind of funny because he said in the chat yesterday, you better be prepared because Dakota's about to eat this pin and get kicked out, and then 2 minutes later, Damage Control wins.
Yeah, I predicted them turning on Dakota and she gets her babyface push. I guess I predicted it too soon.
But my prediction, you could have done the same exact story. You put Dakota in the match, and because they've been building up. Oh, Io could be the first one to 2-time since CM Punk, or what, 2 in a row since CM Punk, and that could have been the story where Io's at the top, she's grabbing onto the briefcase, and she gets pushed off the ladder, and they pan the camera down, and it's Dakota Kai. That's where I was going. Why I felt, because that progresses a storyline. And that's what I've always felt, that if you're going to do this match, that's fine, but progress some storylines. That progresses stories. We don't have stories coming out of this match to talk about other than Tiffy time has begun officially.
Well, how often do you get stories coming out of like the Money in the Bank though?
For the most part that I can remember, like the early years of the gimmick, they set for the next, immediate pay-per-view, you built your storylines out of that match.
Yeah, give me some examples. I don't really, when I think of Money in the Bank, I think of a spot fest match where you pick one person to accelerate their career, to launch their career. But for the most part, it's a spot fest. And then, everyone does whatever they do, but they incorporate a ladder into it. Who are I guess most creative. I see more story in a match like a Rumble maybe or a Chamber match. Look at like Money in the Bank. I don't see more of it's like I'm trying to get this briefcase type shit.
I mean, I guess. I feel like they waste a lot of space in these matches, and that they would benefit. They would mean more if you progressed a story through them, rather than just doing a spot fest that has no result outside of it.
Well, yeah, think about like what Nerdy D says, like the circus. Say something for a little bit, a little bit of something for everyone. Say you might have your hard hitting like technical match, and then you got your really story driven match. And then you got your spot fest for the sickos.
But I don't know, but it just feel it. My issue with Money in the Bank matches is they're overbooked and you get zero result out. You get one person who gets the potential championship, but then outside of it, you overbook it and nothing really comes out of it. And to me, that's just I'm not entertained by it. Like I could care less if Kairi Sane put Zoey Stark through a ladder and almost killed her. That doesn't titillate the juices over here.
It titillated my juices. That spot was wild.
I mean, it was like there was like a pop of like, oh, holy shit. And then 2 minutes later, well, is she dead? And if she's not, okay, let's move on. That was my reaction to it.
I also didn't get a chance to watch the Forbidden Door ladder match yet, so I couldn't compare the two. But even Forbidden Door, I was debating buying that pay-per-view just for the ladder match. Well, not just for it, but that was one of the big reasons I was debating buying it.
I think you just have an affinity for ladder matches that I just don't have.
I do. I love ladder matches. I think it goes back to when I was a kid and the custody of Dominic ladder match. I think that's what it is.
It's probably what it is. I think you just like ladder matches a lot more than I do.
Ladder matches are my wrestling fetish.
So then we move to the main event.
It's a topic for next week. What's your wrestling fetish?
Drop in the Discord. Wrestling. No, but we move to the main event here, and the Bloodline surprisingly gets. I know I picked Cody and them. I think to win. The Bloodline gets a win here. I think somewhere I wasn't expecting Roman to return.
Neither was I.
But I think some people were. I expected some interference.
I think it went down just as simple as it needed to be. I don't think it needed to be overbooked.
I agree. I think that the problem with this match is they really didn't give us much to talk about. And a lot of people are like, well, why does Solo have to beat Cody? Well, I didn't think of this when I was making my predictions, but this makes sense. Now he has claim to the championship.
Yeah,
I pinned the champion. It was just as simple as that.
That's why I picked Solo in my predictions thing.
Right. And so I think what the funny part is that the only thing really being talked about of this is who was it? Was it Tangaloa who just
no. Free my boy. Stop criticizing my boy.
No.
If you go back and you watch that match,
I'm about to say the same thing you saying. I'm about to say the same thing you say. I'm tired of people bitching on this motherfucker.
Yeah, he hit Kevin Owens the first time. Kevin was doing
this motherfucker. Kevin Owens didn't sell it, absolutely. But the reason he missed the first time was because he was smelling colors. This motherfucker went straight, like literally 2 minutes before this happened, concussed straight off of the damn table. So I need these people to calm down with the hate on Tangaloa. Everyone's pushing all of these. He has a history of these botches. Well, can we stop? First off, all of your New Japan tape you're showing, can you stop having this man doing New Japan shit when he's not meant for it? Like he tried to do like a 619. That's not his move set. Why is he? That's the problem with that audience. Is that's what they crave. And if they would just right, I ain't got a problem with this dude. This dude, he's playing the role he needs to do. This dude was knocked out, smelling colors, seeing sounds, and that's why he missed the first time. If Kevin Owens would have just sold the first time,
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think we're talking about this.
He hit Kevin Owens the first time, and then he was like, "Oh, you did not feel it? I gotta hit you again," and he hit him again.
I don't know why we're overdoing the idea that this was a botch. If anything, Kevin Owens just wasn't selling, and I get Kevin Owens had a lot going on at the time, but I do want to go back to. I figured out why it was a whiteout. I guess that they had asked the fans to wear white because Saturday was. Right? Well, that's part of it, but that, really doesn't make sense because that's Winnipeg's tradition, not Toronto's. It was from what I saw, it was for Sika's funeral was Saturday.
Gotcha.
And so I just want to come and say, Jey Uso did personally. When Sika died, they needed if Jey wasn't going to win, you gotta do right by him and find a way to remove him from this match so that he can go to his uncle's funeral. But I guess I can say the same thing about Solo as well. And so I want to just say, y'all are better than me because I would have no-showed.
Well, Heyman was at the funeral.
Right, but Heyman wasn't at the pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I forgot. Yeah, you got put through the table.
Yeah, put through that table. But Jay missed it. Solo missed it. I mean, the rest of the group isn't family, so I don't really care.
Trinity missed it, or Naomi missed it.
Naomi missed it. So support, big props to all of them because I would have no-showed if that was me. I'm just going to be honest with you. What I do also like is that they play into the sort of like how the hell do the Usos get into Canada sort of gimmick. I like that they played into that. So just real
Jacob
brief
into Canada.
Right. Triple H pulled some sort of favor. I have no idea how Jacob fought.
Also, unshout out to Dave Meltzer, that idiot. He tried to say that Fatu wasn't going to be in the match. And then he tried to cover his ass saying if he is, it's going to be a last minute decision. Dave Meltzer's a clown.
This is what I'm saying. WWE's putting out fake information to make this guy look stupid. And we need to keep doing right, stupider. He's been wrong for like the last 2 years straight. And I'm going to mention him in my react to this on Friday because this dude trying to sit here and tell me that Kalani Jordan and Sol Ruka put on a gymnastic match and it was trash. When if that same match would have had Will Ospreay in it, he would have given it a 6-star.
Yeah, I saw. I don't know if you posted it, so I almost posted it. A side by side of the Sol Ruka Kalani James match versus Kalani Jordan, and then it was side by side with Ricochet and Will Ospreay. Yeah,
it's literally the same thing, and so I don't like the dude. He's getting up to the level of Sean Ross Sapp and level of I don't give a fuck. Don't mention him around me. Like he's wrong, and we just need to stop. We need to stop naming him. And anytime I see something, Dave Meltzer said this. Sorry, he's wrong. I just automatically assume it's wrong. Let's talk about Raw a little bit. Past what we've already sort of discussed. What was your overall grade of Money in the Bank, and then how did you feel about the Raw after?
Money in the Bank was a 6 out of 10. I don't know. You got the ladder matches or whatever, and then the other 2 matches that weren't the main event. So the Intercontinental title match and then the World Heavyweight title match were pretty good. But the IC match could have been on a weekly show.
Right. Honestly, I know I mentioned this at the beginning. If they would have taken that match off the card, put it on Raw, and put Theory and Waller versus DIY, I would.
I mean, the reason he's on the card is because it was Toronto. You got Sami and you got Toronto.
That's you're right. That's the only reason. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I give Money Bank a 6 out of 10. I give Raw the following Raw. It was solid. It wasn't like I sat down, I watched it all. I wasn't like falling asleep or nothing. It was a solid episode of Raw. Advancing stories, setting stuff up. good promo work. Raw is missing Gunther because right now he's kind of waiting for SummerSlam, so he should probably. I think he's making an appearance next week, I think. But like,
he'll be face to face with Damian.
We need more Gunther. It's gonna step up now that Rhea's back. So next week is gonna be a must watch to see how her and Judgment Day interact.
Right. So what I took from this episode, and Triple H his books this way, he had one entire purpose for this show, and you could tell by the way he booked. We had like 4 or 5 different segments with something in the Judgment Day. This whole episode was to set up Rhea Ripley's return. That's the only thing he's set to accomplish here. And so that's the only thing I really think we haven't really talked about yet. So the first thing is all these people asking, well, why did Liv retreat? I feel like this is easy to answer. She's the cowardly heel. She acted all big and tough while Rhea was gone, but now Rhea's back, so she runs away.
Surprised Dominic didn't run.
Dominic was frozen.
Yeah, he got fight or flight. He froze.
Right. The last thing was everyone bitching about the cutoff of the episode. I wasn't upset. I wasn't really upset with it. I think that cliffhanger of her. I think if anything, they didn't end it quick enough because she said like mommy's back, and that's when they were supposed to end it, and it went like 2 or 3 more seconds past it where she walked past them. But that's your classic cliffhanger to get you to return next week. It wasn't, these people are so spoiled with AEW buying 15 extra minutes to like they did this past week to beat the shit out of Daniel Garcia that they automatically think that every network's just going to give 15 minutes of their programming. TBS doesn't have anything on after AEW. There's something that comes on after Raw on Mondays. The Survivor New Zealand or whatever comes on. And while I'm sure not many people watch it, it's still a show people expect to see. And so I'm not upset with, right? Of all the things I could complain about, at least it's not SmackDown where we're blanking out half the show. But yeah, I think with Rhea back, so I posted this in that CWC chat. I want to hear your thoughts. I think they brought Rhea back too soon.
I would have brought her back differently. I think what they should have done is Liv should have been in a title match, whether it was against Zelina or at the PLE or something. Mm-hmm. I rather her be at a title match. She wins the match. She's in the ring, whatever, gloating or whatever, and then Rhea's music hits. I mean, the way they did it was cool with her and Dom like about to make out, but Dom still has an out. He didn't kiss her, so Dom still has an out.
Right. So for me, I liked the entire setup of this episode. Carlito as comedic relief, perfect. The little scene where they all pop their head around the corner, perfect. Even the match itself, I think the match itself went on a little too long.
It was the main event, you had to give the fans in attendance their money's worth.
Right. And this may just be a part that I'm fucking tired of seeing Dom and Ray in the ring together. But
we're building a little more story. If you notice, Dom was about to rip his mask off. So we're building towards that hair versus mask match.
This dude's gonna push to the hair versus mask match until it actually happens in the year 2050. But it's a slow story from what I understand. But
Dom's hair is getting longer.
But I feel that bringing Rhea back this early, I don't know what it accomplishes. The story didn't really necessarily need a full month of build to get to Rhea versus Liv. There's not much that she really has to do that involves anyone outside of Dom and Liv, because the rest of the Judgment Day, I mean, Finn hasn't really been a major part of the story outside of the teases every now and then. But I feel like if Dom didn't kiss her yet. I feel like if you just book this to where like he gets ready to, but then he hesitates and rolls out of the ring this week, but he's at least somewhat getting comfortable with the idea. And then like next week he gets more comfortable. The week before that, or the week after, he gets comfortable, and then the Monday before the sort of go home show to SummerSlam, he finally goes in and he kisses her, and Rhea, the camera turns around and Rhea's in the room. And I don't necessarily feel right. And then she beats down Liv. That gets you the match. You don't really need a lot of storyline. You don't need a month build to this match.
I think there's still a little bit more story to tell, to see also which side Judgment Day chooses, the individual members, because
that can be a fallout. That can be a fallout of SummerSlam, though. You don't need that to get to SummerSlam.
And then you also have the build to SummerSlam about whose side Dom is going to pick. Is he going to pick Rhea's side, Liv side, building up to SummerSlam?
Right. But again, all of that can be a fallout, because you got to get to whatever September is. I've already seen, I don't know if these are true or not, but I've already seen promotion for Bad Blood where Rhea and Liv remade the Undertaker Bad Blood poster where Undertaker's holding his head. And so this is going at least through October, November. And so you still get...
I wish Vince was back for a little bit. Like moments like this is where I wish we had Vince McMahon, just for the fact that I want a custody of Dominic ladder match between Rhea and Liv. All right. Property of Dominic. Dominic's property of.
That brings up Trish Stratus came in and stated that creative under Triple H doesn't feel different than under Vince McMahon, which I've been saying that it's the same tree. It's the same learning tree of booking. Triple H learned from Vince. So Triple H just does certain things a little bit different.
I think Triple H is longer. Triple H is more stretches,
right? So the only real difference is Triple H books longer, and he has an ear towards the sickos, and whereas Vince really just started throwing whatever, he changed whatever he wanted whenever he wanted, and he never listened to the fans. I think those are the only two differences. But outside of that, I still think you could get a custody of Dominic match under Triple H. I just don't know if people really care about that, to be honest with you.
It's just a nostalgia for me, the throwback. You know what I'm saying? And then you got Dom picking a side by tipping over the ladder. Oh,
right. So we talked about, we're going to go to the questions. We talked about one of B Master's questions. I thought I had these copy and paste it, but B Master had asked a question about
when I was answering them, I realized where he posted them when he started asking them. I thought it was like a general chat.
Right. So no, you're good. You're good. So we talked about the mid-card title, that question that he asked. So we'll just go to the other one. This is the only other question we have. He says, do you think WWE wanted Awesome Truth to be tag team champions? I think at the time it was the only thing that made sense, for, like you said in the Discord, for the crowd pop.
Yeah, the crowd pop, and then it was also a reward to R-Truth for all the good work he was doing with Judgment Day leading up to that.
Right. And there seems to be like a Miz turning heel thing that might happen.
During on Raw, well, even building up to it is how Truth is like putting their titles online every single week, and this time they actually finally lost it. And then in their match last night, R-Truth was distracted by cheering to the crowd, or you know, and then towards the end, it showed like a very angry look on Miz's face. The camera panned to it.
Right. So my thing is, the only thing I'm really upset with is, instead of building a new tag team, you just give the titles right back to Judgment Day. which I get it builds the whole Liv Morgan story, but you have the Creeds on the roster and don't use them. I know you're trying to put them into the Chad Gable story. I know you're trying to put them in the Gable story, but y'all need to. I think that could still be like a side quest for them. You know, they're being trained on the side by Gable without us knowing it, and that's why. That's why they're getting better or whatever. I don't know. You could have come up with something.
Yeah, the Raw tag team division's a little lackluster right now because you got Miz and Truth, Judgment Day, Creeds, but then you got Erica and Ivar who are both hurt, and you got the LWO boys who don't really move the needle, like they're not believable at the moment. So you don't really have a tag team outside of the Creeds and the Judgment Day, because isn't Adonis and them are on SmackDown, right? Adonis and Cedric.
Yeah. It's about time to move up some of these NXT tag teams. We got way too many of them. Gallus needs to be called up.
Well, I think they're gonna. I think you need to kind of get past the Judgment Day thing right now, because especially with them being involved with the tag teams and all these titles, you gotta get Judgment Day split up and wait for them to break up.
That's definitely what they're doing, and then you can. Like Triple H seems to be where Vince would book everything, every division. Triple H seems to be focused on like, let's build one story at a time. He seems singular focused, which is fine. It's not definitely a better way to book, in my opinion, than just throwing shit at the wall. But it just at times it feels like certain things get left behind,
or move too slow,
or move too slow. Right. But with that, let's move into Thirsty Tuesday. So the winners of last week, I'm gonna need more people to participate in this, so join the Discord. This is just a reminder. Kara, thanks for voting, and I think B Master was the only other one that voted this week. So they agreed with us about Randy Orton. There's a tie with MJF and Dom. We're gonna settle that in a minute. We're gonna flip a coin on this one. To make it fair, because there was a tie in the Discord, and we differed as well. I said Dom, you said MJF.
Yeah.
We both said Drew, and so there was the Discord had one for Drew, one for Dolph, but we're gonna give it to Drew since we both agree with Drew. And then Takeshita won between him and Ospreay, which was probably the least favorable of all the matchups. I had to force Kara to vote in this one.
I thought Ospreay was the clear cut favorite in that, but I guess I was wrong.
So there's this week's matchups. Let me pull up my bracket here. Are going to be Giovanni Vinci.
Okay.
The Stallion versus Joe Hendry.
Okay.
So if we're going off of looks here, it's Vinci, without a doubt.
The girls do love the bald head. But Joe Hendry got the smile though. He got that smile.
Yeah. So where are you going? I'm going Vinci.
And like Joe Hendry is not like, it's not like he's not muscular. He's pretty muscular himself.
Right.
But it's like a hidden muscular. Giovanni Vinci, I feel like you can see it through the shirt.
Yeah.
I'll go Giovanni Vinci.
You go Vinci as well. All right. The next one is him, Carmelo Hayes, versus the King, Lexus King.
Carmelo Hayes.
This one's tough for me. I like both of them.
That's because you're a Middle Eastern Southern boy. You're a Midwest Southern boy. That's why. Nah, it's Carmelo Hayes.
Carmelo's cool and all, but bro, this mullet.
I don't know. It's not a Dominic mullet, so
I'm going Lexus.
I don't know. Carmelo got the swag. He's him. He's Himothy.
Right, but you gotta have a little bit more than just that charisma.
He a light skinned prince. You know what I'm saying? He got braids.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm going with Alexis on this one.
All right, Kara, you better let me down, Kara.
Matchup 3 is Hook versus Trick Williams.
Well, this one's tough, actually.
It is, because Hook is a
like skater boy douchebag, kind of
right.
good looking.
So Trick has everything. He's got the smile. He's got the height. I don't know. Where are you going?
So Hook is the guy that girls that I liked back in the day used to like.
Right.
Whereas Trick is the guy I would lose my girl to in the club on a regular basis. So one of them, they already like Hook. I'm not their type, but the ones I already got,
right?
Trick Williams is like the advanced version of a brother. So he's the alpha brother. I gotta go Trick Willie.
I'm going Trick Willie. Going Trick here.
It's tough though because Hook got that skater boy like emo
right.
attitude.
So the last one for this week, you may have to look up one of them because it's from he's from TNA. He doesn't really get shown on TNA that much, which is a shame. But it's CM Punk. That's the obvious one. We all know.
I was about to say I know who that is.
We all know who that is. But his opponent is his wrestling name is Hammerstone, but his real name is Alex Hammerstone. You can look up both. I'm going Hammerstone. You'll know why when you look him up.
He looks like a knockoff Brock Lesnar.
Right, exactly, knockoff Brock Lesnar. I've seen this dude live in person. I've shook this dude's hand.
And you got tingly. Yeah. Cool. You got it tingled your it quenched your tingles.
But yeah, I'm going Hammerstone here.
Are you going like long hair or short hair? What does he currently have?
That I don't know. I haven't seen him recently. I think he has.
It looks like he got a shorter haircut.
Yeah, like a shorter hair. Yeah.
No, I'm him versus CM Punk. Because CM Punk, he looks like cool uncle. Like he gives cool uncle vibes, but I don't really see like him taking your bitch vibes. You know what I'm saying?
Like I lost a lot of respect for CM Punk here trying to sit here and compare Larry to Rue on this promo. Like, you have a wife and kids, and he's got a bracelet with my wife and dog. That's a little bitch saying right there.
It's his fur baby.
Look, I'm sorry. I don't do fur babies over here. They're dogs.
Can I go the younger Alex Hammerstone?
Sure. Whatever version
with the longer hair. He almost looks like Triple H-ish.
Okay.
He looks like Triple H mixed with that guy who came in like second place in the remake of Tough Enough.
Oh.
The guy who plays Luchasaurus, I think, right? Isn't that him?
I don't think he's Luchasaurus. But I know who you're talking about. Like 2014, the one with Sarah Lee in it.
Yeah. He came in like second place on the men's side. Who won that year? That was
Is that 2015?
Sure.
I believe it was.
It's when they brought it back. Who won that? It wasn't
Josh Brettel won it that year. I'm trying to see who finished second place.
It wasn't ZZ, was it?
No, that dude got eliminated. Like,
Josh Brettel, I think, was the winner.
Yeah, he won.
Yeah. The guy looks like Josh Brother a little bit. That's what.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's what Alexander Hammerstone reminds me of with the long hair.
Yeah, I can see it. So you're going Hammerstone there?
Yeah.
All right. So we'll put those up in the Discord, see where the voting goes there. Any final comments before we... Oh, actually, we got to play the little ending game here. So I'm going to name a superstar that he has to He has to stay quiet till I name someone that's better than, and we're going to use his favorite of all time, Rey Mysterio.
Okay. But you might be
Whatever
wrong,
version of Rey you want to think of, if this is prime, like late 90s, early 2000s Rey, or whatever you want to think, your childhood Rey, like, early 2000s, whatever comes to your mind when you think Rey Mysterio. That's what
we might be wrong night.
So we're gonna start with Eddie Guerrero. Okay. Triple H, Randy Orton, Batista. Kevin Owens, Adam Cole, MJF, Will Ospreay. Let's see. Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kurt.
Yeah, I was like Kurt. I was close with MJF, but I was like, I gotta see some more out of MJF. I don't know. I gotta see some more.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero was close. But I don't know.
Ospreay was up there. I'm kidding.
I like Rey Mysterio too much.
Yeah.
I would say just the amount of opponents he was able to work with and the different kinds of wrestling styles. That's why like people like Triple H and Randy Orton, I didn't say yes to them because I feel like the people that they're very effective working with is not as wide a variety as Rey Mysterio. I feel like Rey Mysterio can have a great match with like Great Khali and have a great match with Shelton Benjamin and like have a great match with like Batista, like all over the place.
Right. I agree. Any final words before we end this tonight?
Do you know John Morrison was a Tough Enough winner?
I did not.
Season 3, or at least that's what Google said. Yeah. Shout out to Sol Ruka and Kalani Jordan. Had a great match. Low key might have been match of the weekend. I think it was match of the weekend. I think the women's world title match was all right. It was a little overhyped.
Roxanne versus Lola.
Yeah. Shout out to a little bit, but you're not ready for that world title yet. But a question I got posed to you for your show: who is going to dethrone Roxanne? Because Jordan Grace isn't eligible for WWE until January. Her contract's up January. You know what I'm saying? Do we give it to her before she moves over from TNA? Or do we get, what's her name, the Mexican Japanese star who should be debuting soon? You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you asked the question because we were going to cover it anyway. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Because I have the same feeling you do about that match. I think it sort of slowed the momentum of the show. That's just me personally. But we'll talk about that Friday. So tune in Friday. I know this episode was long. That one might be longer because we got a lot to talk about. I'll just go ahead and preview it. We're going to talk. We're going to update everyone on how I feel about, the Wyatt Six and what we have going on there. I'm going to talk. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but the WrestleMania Beyond the Curtain documentary, I watched it. I'm gonna break it down for everyone. I'm gonna give my opinion on it, on what I feel about it. We'll review Heat Wave, and then we're gonna just shoot out a hot take at the end of this. I'm not gonna spoil it here. But tune in Friday because you're gonna want to hear it at the end of next week of the next episode. I got a hot take.
Ooh, shout out Morrissey Machine Guns. Please sign with WWE. You're my favorite non-WWE tag team of all time. So please sign with WWE. I gotta see the magic happen.
At least once. You gotta. I saw someone said, "Oh, it's 10 years too late," and I'm like, it's never too late.
Yeah, those guys are like in the best shapes of their lives right now.
Right.
Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Those guys are fucking monsters.
If anything, because Shelley is now a world champion, under his name with TNA. So he's, you would think like technically in his career, like he's more valuable because he's a world champion. So yeah, I didn't get to see them in their prime, so just seeing them now would be cool.
You gotta go back. I'll send you a link to a match. You gotta see these boys in their prime. That versus LAX and Beer Money Incorporated. Those boys are nice.
Okay. I'm just seeing Ciampa post the teaser of it.
Oh, Mercy Machine Guns versus DIY.
Right.
Oh my god,
that match is gonna kill. Like that's the first thing I thought of. And that could be a SummerSlam match.
Yes.
Like that could be like open challenge for DIY at SummerSlam and have Motor City Machine Guns show up. DJ over here, he gonna schoolgirl on us over here. Just
exactly.
He gonna be titillated. But with that, thank y'all for watching the Slap With Me Wrestling podcast. I'll see y'all on Friday. Until then, y'all have a great rest of your day.
Brother, I'm going run a wild Hulk Hogan. If I like get some moment, I'll make sure it's an explosion.